What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over some tips for how you can get easy crown wins in Fortnite Zero Build in Chapter 4 Season 4. As always, if you guys do find this video helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below what your favorite thing about Season 4 has been thus far. So the first thing we're going to talk about is going to be where you want to land, because obviously this will have a huge impact on how your match starts. A lot of people are going to target the mythic POIs because they think, if I get this overpowered mythic item, it's obviously going to be much easier for me to win the game, right? But these POIs can be fun for sure, but they're also very chaotic, and that leads to them being like pretty random at times. So if all you want to do is win as consistently as possible and get more crown wins, I would actually recommend not landing at these mythic POIs because of how populated they are, because of how chaotic they are, and because the mythics you get from the vaults are just completely random. If there was like a set vault that had like the mythic MK7 in it or the charge shotgun, then sure, like going for that vault would probably increase your chances to win, but you're taking a huge risk off spawn to potentially get, the chug jug or the ray gun, and neither of which are very good. So like I said, it definitely can be fun, and if you want to get high kill games, these mythic POIs can be great. But if all you want to do is win, and win consistently and increase your crown count, I would recommend actually avoiding these mythic POIs. Landing pretty much anywhere aside from the mythic POIs is going to be way less contested than it typically is at this point in time, because the season is new and because you have so many people landing at any of the mythic POIs. So any POI you like that's somewhat near a radio tower will be a good place to start the game. You're probably going to get a lot of loot relatively uncontested because, like I said, a lot of people are landing at those mythic POIs, and then they're just going to eliminate each other, and you're going to have a lot of loot, have an easy start to the game, and the rest of the match is probably going to be somewhat easier than it normally would be because of how dead the lobbies are. So some places that I've liked landing this season have been Shady Stilts, Frenzy Farm, Brutal Bastion, and Slappy Shores. Rumble Ruins is also worth mentioning for the guaranteed exotic Maven, which is probably the best shotgun in the game right now. But 800 gold is a pretty steep price, and a lot of people know about this exotic Maven at this point, so I feel like this place is relatively contested and can be like pretty random at times. But you also kind of have the benefit of maybe somebody else buys it, and then you eliminate them shortly after they buy it, and then you get a free exotic Maven. That's definitely something you could play to do. I talked before about how landing near the radio towers are super important, and this is because these radio towers give forecast if you put the card into the radio tower, and then the boss that will spawn drops slurp juice, which is the best healing item in the game, a gold twin mag AR, and a mobility item. And obviously forecast is super overpowered, just always seeing where the next zone is going to be in a BR for the rest of the game is hugely impactful. It just makes the remainder of the game super easy. You don't have to worry about, positioning in a spot where you get, unfortunate zone pull for you. You're just always going to be able to put yourself in the best spot in zone. That makes playing out the game super easy. Slurps are also the best healing item in the game, and 3 of these radio towers spawn per game, and each spawns in one section of the map, but they have 2 spawns per that section. So like there's 2 spawns in the top center, there's 2 spawns on the left side, and then there's 2 spawns on the right side. And then each game, 1 radio tower will spawn in each of these sections. So you'll have 1 top center, 1 left side, 1 right side. You won't ever get a situation at this point in time, unless they change it, where like both of the top center one spawn, or like both of the left side one spawn. It kind of alternates between them. And you can look when you're in the battle bus and see which radio towers spawned. I talked about this before in a video, and people told me I was wrong about this because the boss doesn't spawn until 30 seconds into second zone, and that's when you'll get the blue indicator on your map. But the metal structure of the radio tower is there from the moment the game starts. So like when you're landing, you can look and see where the radio towers are in the zone, in the given match that you're in. And like I said, there's set spawns for them. They kind of alternate between those set spawns, but once you've played enough this season and you're familiar with all the spawns, it's very easy to just check where the radio towers are and then land in a spot that is, somewhat near that radio tower. And then you can play to, loot up your initial POI, eliminate the players there, and then make it to the radio tower area a little bit before boss spawns. I like being there a bit early just so I can eliminate any of the other players that are potentially going for that radio tower. And something to keep in mind is which POIs will likely be rotating to your radio tower. So if I go Shady Stilts and the one at the Ice Lake is there, I'm going to be pretty, you know, paying attention, pretty aware of the fact that there's likely going to be somebody padding from Brutal to this radio tower, because it's just the most likely scenario. A lot of people know these radio towers are good, so anybody coming from Brutal is likely going to come fight me at that same radio tower. So it's just something to keep in mind. Even after you eliminate the boss, just always kind of stay on your toes here, because you will often get third-partied. A lot of people know how good these radio towers are, and I think getting the radio tower and getting forecast increases your chances of winning more so than just looting a vault and getting a mythic weapon does. And since these radio towers, the bosses drop slurps, I'm not going to be as concerned about getting my combat cash this season, unless I want to get a high rarity sharp tooth or I end up using my slurp juices, because the combat cash does drop a sharp tooth shotgun and then a spray weapon of some sorts, corresponding rarity to what you get it at. So if you get the gold combat cash, you're going to get a gold sharp tooth. Whether or not you want that will really depend on you. And then, like I said, if you have to use your slurps by the time cash spawns, which may happen because the radio tower does often get third-partied, then I would go for it. But I found that I've been getting my combat cash way less this season. As far as like loadout goes, I do have a specific video that goes over this more in depth, but I think the meta is very open at this point. Whichever shotgun you like, I think is up to you. I don't think there's any shotgun that's just like terrible this season, or any shotgun that's just like clearly the best. The exotic Maven is kind of an outlier, but that's an exotic. But you know, between Sharptooth, Infiltrator, Pump, Maven, that's up to you. The spray weapons are kind of the same thing. If you like the combat SMG or the burst SMG, I think both are very good. Heals, I think slurps are the best still. Movement, I think shockwaves are the best still. I think the shockwaves are way better than the rocket ram for pushing people, for getting away from fights, for repositioning in fights. Just like everything you want out of a mobility item, I feel like the shockwaves are way better than the rocket ram and leave you less vulnerable than the rocket ram. I have gotten a lot of kills this season on people who seem to think they're invincible when using the rocket ram. And then as far as AR go, I think the twin mag AR is just better than the other options, and it can also double as a spray weapon somewhat effectively. So if you did want to run a 2-gun setup, you could run any shotgun, twin mag AR, slurps, shockwaves, and then maybe something like the sniper, maybe bunkers, maybe extra heals. Really up to you. Like I said, I think the meta is really open this season. When you come to 4th zone and island spawns, I think you definitely want to try to control that if you can. Last season, I really didn't care about going for the island. I thought it was really annoying to fight with the lack of mobility in the game at the start, and then also with the drum shoddy in the game. Just the fights on island were not it, in my opinion. And then also with the MK Alpha in the game, just controlling island I felt like wasn't as much of an advantage, because you couldn't just like easily beam people with the MK Alpha. Like, it was a fine weapon, but its damage at range wasn't the greatest. With the twin mag AR in the game, its damage and range is incredible, and so if you're chilling on island on top of the house, you can easily just beam any other players in the area. And I've gotten a lot of kills this season just shooting people from island, or when people rift, you can, you know, if you hit your shots, you can kill people incredibly fast with the twin mag AR. So I definitely want to control island. Not only does it give you advantageous angles on the people underneath, but you don't have to deal with somebody else camping on the island, which is very nice. Also, with forecast in the game, you know, you're going to see where zones are going to be, so you can just kind of chill on island until it's no longer in zone, and then pad or rift to what would be a favorable location in zone. And that's also very nice, because once island isn't going to be in zone anymore, usually at that point you're at like 5th or 6th zone, so you're seeing 6th or 7th zone, so you can easily, you know, pad and put yourself in a good position to capitalize on the rest of the game and just like easily close that game out. Also, one thing I want to talk about is that like how dead the lobbies are, just running around I feel like doesn't even really get you that much action at this point. So just like controlling island and being able to see as much of the map as possible makes it, I feel like, easier to not get caught off guard by those like few remaining players, and that really is helpful this season because the sniper is back in the game, and so people are going to play off that sniper and just hopefully they're going to hope to catch you off guard and hit a free shot. You can get sniped while you're on island, but I feel like you're less likely to get sniped while you're on island than if you're just like running around on the ground. Now we come to endgame, and endgame is super situational. It's hard to just kind of give blanket advice in a broad overview video like this, but in general, having forecast from the radio towers I think makes it very easy to play endgame and just always put yourself in the best spot to be able to rotate to next zone accordingly. You know, if you have a zone and you don't know where next is going to go, you could maybe get a lucky pull or you could get an unlucky pull, and that's going to like really change your chances of winning the game. But when you always see where next zone is, it's very easy to just put yourself on the edge of zone that's nearest to the next and just easily rotate to that zone and hold the rest of the lobby. You rinse and repeat this for like 1 or 2 zones in game, and you're probably going to have that one game for that game won for free. If there are any sort of power positions in zone, like if there's a tall hill or a tall building, definitely want to control those. But if it's a somewhat neutral zone, I just like to play edge of zone. That way we don't have to worry about like all 360 degrees, because if you're playing edge, then, you know, the part of the zone that's behind you, that's in storm, likely isn't going to have people coming from it like late in the game. And just any sort of cover that's near edge of zone will be nice to play. And like I said, since you have forecast, it's very easy to just always put yourself in the most favorable location. And then that just makes it where it makes to where the other players have to do so much more than you. You know, if you're already in the good spot, all you have to do is hold them. Whereas like the other players have to worry about getting to zone while also not taking too much damage, while also not wasting too much of their mobility and too much of their heals. And you do that for several zones in a row, and it's very easy to win the game without having to do as much. And that's why forecast is one of the most overpowered benefits in the game. But that is going to be it for this video. Like I said, this is just a broad overview of what you want to do. So you want to land somewhere that's likely not a mythic POI, but near a radio tower. Loot up your spot, make it to the radio tower, eliminate the boss, get your forecast and get your slurps. Maybe get combat cash if you need it, but you really want to play for island and control island. And then from there, just pad to whatever side of zone is favorable for endgame and play the endgame out, and you should be able to easily pick up some wins. Subscribe to the channel if you want more tip videos and more specific videos about certain things. Like, you know, I might make a video about in-game tips for this season, or how to fight island this season, or things of that nature. But this video, like I said, was just meant to be a broad overview of kind of things you should do over the course of the game in every zone to hopefully increase your chances of win. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.